On the latest episode of Broker Breakdown, I'm talking to Jesse Zagorsky from San Diego, who's recruited 680 people in just 2.5 years. While that's obviously impressive, Jesse hasn't always been this successful. In fact, back in January of 2019, with a 21 agent team under his command, his organization unfortunately sold 0 homes and lost tens of thousands of dollars. So he's come a long way from those hard times. And how did he turn it all around? Well, you guessed it, he credits his obsessive use of video as one of the factors that got him there. Check out this story and a ton of other practical pieces of advice on this latest episode. It starts right now. Well, hey, Jesse, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to our conversation. So I want to get into talking about top performing teams or building a culture of top performance. But you were actually telling me the other day that you broke your top performing culture. And so I want to start there. What the heck happened? How'd you break that top performing culture on your team?
Yeah, I totally broke it a few years ago. And literally I joke. So I've run teams for, 15 years, as small as 4, as big as 21. And a couple of years ago, I jokingly say I have screwed up running a team 6 ways sideways. Like every mistake you could make running a team, I've probably made it. I was my own broker of record for so long. And in my actual sales team, I had 14 agents. This is probably 2017. Probably 2018. I had about 14 agents, and I absorbed another team that was kind of splitting up, and I went from 14 agents to 21 agents almost overnight. Wow. I know you guys talk about recruitment on this show and ways to grow. This is most team leaders' dream, right? You're like, dude, I went from 14 to 21. And my 14 agent team was a pretty good team. Like I've run teams for so long. It wasn't the best team I ever ran, but I liked the people on it. They were solid. They were, above average producers just going along. I brought in these other agents that were great human beings. I have nothing against them, but they were not high producers. In fact, a lot of them were brand new. Some of them were just not good producers at all. There was a couple decent agents out of them. And what happened was I took this culture, and you already know where I'm going with this, right? I took this culture that was like middle of the road to above average, brought in these people that just kind of suck the energy down. And immediately we went from a decent production to my top producers quit like almost instantly because they're like, I don't want to be on the team with these turkeys. I'm out of here. My bottom producers just quit because they weren't selling houses anyway. And I ended up with this group of 21 agents that were just mediocre, as a whole. Like individually, there were some decent people. So in January of 2019, guess how many homes my 21 agents sold? What's the lowest amount of homes you think 21 agents could possibly sell?
I would hope like 21 or more, but I don't know. Yeah,
we took a shot out.
I was worried that's where it was going.
21 agents. So you want to know how I broke my team? This is how I broke my team. I'll tell you how we fixed it in a minute. But 21 agents sold 0 houses in January of 2019. I lost $40,000 to start the year. And even though it's like a rolling tab and the end of the other year was still okay, like in my mind, I'm freaking out.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm free falling. I had a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old baby, right? If you think about that, I've got this new baby. I have killed my team. I lost $40,000, and there were some external forces in the market at play. Anyone who was in the market January 2019 probably remembers that. But it really was me as a team leader. I just strategically, I blew it. And I didn't see it coming. I was arrogant. I will fully acknowledge. I thought, I'm going to take these 7 new agents and I'm going to make them rock stars. And they weren't selling much on their last team, but I'm going to make them amazing. Didn't work. And so in February, we took a half shutout. I lost $25,000. So I'm starting March 1st of 2019, $65,000 in the hole.
Wow.
You've talked to a lot of other leaders on this show. What do you think happens to the mindset of a team leader when you start the year $65,000 in the hole?
It's probably not good, I would guess.
It was, I jokingly say, and it was actually a really dark period of time for me, but I can joke about it now. I would alternate. So I disconnected from my team. I didn't fire agents, but I just abandoned them mentally. I went back to being an agent myself. I wasn't in production. I got back into production. I'm a pretty good prospector. I'm pretty good at listings. I think I know what I'm doing. I just put my head down, and I would alternate between prospecting the heck out of it and sitting under my desk crying. Literally, I would alternate between back and forth. It was either under the desk crying or and I can joke now, but it was dark. It was scary. And so Cliff notes on the story at this point. We end up at August. By June, we're break even. By August, we're cash flow positive. I'm 150,000 in the positive now. I'm making money. I'm feeling good. Like I worked my butt off, and it took a while to get the machine rolling again. I start getting my agents back in, and how this ties into a culture of high performance by me leading by example. Even though I totally ignored them, I started having agents just watch what I was doing and go, dude, like I thought the market was hard, but you're making it happen. Like, and they started selling houses, and they started selling houses. And some of the dead weight naturally left the team. And again, I'm not knocking those human beings. They just weren't a fit for real estate. Like I had people that shouldn't be selling houses, period. And the agents who were left started doing a lot better. That was the lesson I learned in that was one, you gotta create a nucleus of success and really nurture that baby, and don't like, if you grow too fast and your culture is kind of subpar, you're just going to get more of that. Right. So team leaders listening, if they want to focus on creating that nucleus. And second was, I got out of production way too early, and I gotten out like 4 times. This is the last time I got out. Like we were not ready. We needed a leader still. If it wasn't me, at least a sales manager or someone who was like actively selling on a daily basis.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, it's great
Have
insights.
you heard,
and thank you for, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, have you heard anyone tell a story like that before? Is that common that you've heard?
It's not common, no. Yeah, I mean, we've heard some ups and downs, but yeah, some vulnerability there. I was gonna say I appreciate you sharing that with us, because that's definitely it's got to be hard to relive and go back through that to a small degree.
But it is. It's an ego blow to acknowledge it, and I didn't want to tell it publicly for a long time. But I've learned that there are so many other team leaders and broker owners, right? Because I owned my brokerage for 14 years. That it's only cool to talk about GCI. Right. People don't talk about their net, and people rarely talk about the hard times. So now that I've come through it and there's some lessons, if I can stop anyone else from going through those same mistakes, I'm happy that I've taken. I mean, not happy, but I will take on that role and happy to share it if it stops anyone else from having to learn the hard way the way I did.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and I love talking about case studies, right? Because I think we get a lot of positive case studies, and obviously those are very beneficial. And I love being able to kind of look back and walk through what somebody did and what worked and didn't. But obviously, it's sometimes even more helpful to have a case study of sort of, here's the mistakes I made, and here's how to watch out for them, and here's how to avoid them, and all that kind of stuff. So one thing, I mean, I do want to talk more on this if you're okay with it. I want to come back to you sort of talking about being in that moment where you're sort of just totally broken down. You're going back into dealing with these transactions yourself, getting back into production. How are you motivating yourself at that point, right? Because I think we can all identify with the sort of curling up onto your desk and feeling like it's all over, and oh my, woe is me, and very sort of justified emotional reaction. What were you telling yourself to get up and do the prospecting, right? Because I think that for a lot of us, like when you get stuck, the last thing you want to do is the sales, the outreach, the putting yourself out there and facing the even further rejection. So you can give us any advice, kind of what got you back into doing that?
Yeah, and it's not linear, first of all. It's not like I got back into it and I was good. Like I would literally get myself to prospect for an hour or 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours tops, and then I go back under the desk. Like physically, I would lay on the floor in my office. Like it wasn't like I'm good to go now. Like I would get up and then I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Like it was like everything it took. But a couple of things that no one's ever asked me what it took. Is a great question. I had a really good coach that had my back, and I trusted in him completely. Right? I knew he had my back, and I knew he would guide me. I had a very supportive spouse, who's my wife, right? That she knew we were going through hard times, but she's a therapist, and she is built to be empathetic. And so there was no judgment. There was no nothing. Like, how could you have done this to our business? Like, she was stressed too, of course. Like, we got a little kid, and she's a therapist, so she makes money, but I was the lion's share of the income in our household. I still am the lion's share in our household. And so it's stressful from her because she has zero control over this. It's like secondhand, but she was incredibly supportive. I think the combination of those two, and because I'd done it for so long. Do you play any sports?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you play
played
sports?
Soccer my whole life. Yeah.
Okay. So in sports is the easiest way to see muscle memory.
Right.
Although I think even in anything we do, there's muscle memory. But in sports, like what position did you play when you played soccer?
Kind of midfield, defense, those two. Yeah.
Okay. Defense. Okay. So your midfield, maybe you're scoring goals, but defense, at least, like you have people coming down on you. You probably did drills if you played your whole life of people coming down on you to score, and your job was to stop them, correct?
Right.
In your sleep, you have it drilled into you, that muscle memory of how you backpedal, what you do when you spin, and what you do with your feet.
Yep.
I've practiced phone sales for years. I used to be a sales trainer. I defaulted back to my level of my training, which is something they say in the armed forces, right? You default back to the level of your training. I didn't have to think about it. I just had to get myself into action, and I would just go, and I was pretty good at it, luckily. If I hadn't had my base, I would have really had to have my back against the wall, and it's why a lot of people probably fail out of real estate if you get in a situation like this. I wasn't attached to the outcome. Here's something you can write down. I had another coach that told me this one. Be attached to the outcome. Be detached from the outcome, attached to the process. Attached to the process, detached from the outcome. It was John Cheplack's the coach who taught me that one. And I think in this case, most people when they were freaking out would probably be really attached, like I got to make this sale. Right. I was so depressed I couldn't care. I was just like, I'm just gonna go prospect, see what happens. Just go grind something. Just go grind salt, chop wood.
Wow, that's amazing.
Does that answer that?
That's great. And I think that's, I think a lot, obviously real estate is interesting to me for a lot of reasons, but it's an industry where you have a lot of people on their third, fourth, fifth career. A lot of times they're coming in with decades of experience. And so, something I sort of look at and try to keep track of is I'm always curious about which professions tend to have the most success once they get into real estate, And I don't know that I have an answer for that. It's more of a curiosity than something I'm, carefully tracking, right? But it is interesting to see that, to see the fact that there are certain skill sets, there are certain things that knowing how to do them, but not only knowing how to do them, but being sort of fully versed in them and trained and having sort of that baseline, allows you to whenever you run into those obstacles, like you said, just come back. I forget what the exact phrase was, but come back to the level of the training, so to speak, right? So that's, what? Yeah, go ahead. Remind me what that was again.
You default to the level of your training.
Default to the level of your training. Cool. I like it.
Yep. And so something I'm realizing as you're chatting, I have a lot of mentors over the years. Like I learned something from everybody. And because of the world of video that we're in now, I make a lot of content the way you do. I love it because I get to interview my mentors and I get to find new people to learn from because I'm always creating content. And so I pick up something from everyone. One of the things that another mentor told me, and this is a different person, had said, you talked about what professions make the best realtors. It's not a profession and it's not a personality type. Every personality type can be successful. Every profession, whether you are a scientist, an engineer, or a salesperson coming into real estate, can make it. This is what he would say. What matters most is the history of greatness or a track record of greatness. So no matter what their career was, and sometimes you got to go back to like high school or junior high to find it, but almost every human being that succeeds once will do it again. It's the way they're wired. And even if they don't call it succeeding, because I've talked to people who are like just crushing it. I'm like, tell me about your past. And they're like, I tell them the theory, the track record of greatness. They're like, I never got to the top of anything. I just did fairly good. And you dive into it. And sure enough, they did fairly good means they did better than almost everybody else every single time. They're just such overachievers. They don't recognize it in themselves, or they're so humble.
They were number one. So what? Yeah, they didn't. Yeah. I get that.
Right. Watch. Let's do this with you for a minute, because I looked up to you in terms of video. You're one of my mentors. I learned something from you every time. In your life, Nick, in your history, did you ever excel at anything else you did prior to video business school?
Yeah, I've definitely excelled in a few other things, over the years. Yeah, I mean, I was, a big one was music. I don't really play music anymore, but I played the trumpet most of my life, and yeah, I mean, I was, I had a blast with it, but yeah, I did very well. I played in the St. Louis Symphony Youth Orchestra for years. I actually got to play with the St. Louis Symphony for a while. And, so I actually, and that's a great point, right? You call back to those things as well as you're going, and you kind of try to put yourself, because, I mean, that's the thing, right? The mentality or sort of the mindset and the habits of success, they're pretty transferable, right? I mean, you can apply them in different parts of life and different challenges. And so, yeah, it's a great point. I mean, there are reasons I left. It could have been my career. Like I was at a point where I was sort of deciding between, do I want to go to music school or, what are my next steps here? And chose not to pursue music. But I still look back at that as like, all right, I had it if I wanted it. Like it's something that I can model on and kind of, and if you look at it, I did a lot of practicing. I was playing all the time.
I was just going to say.
Right.
It's all the same things, and right. And so the same. So some skill sets are part of inborn into who you are, and some are learned skills, and it's transferable from one to another. But it's why as you go through different careers, if you've had success in other careers by your fourth career, if you're getting into real estate, you're going to crush it out of the park. If you failed in all of your previous careers, you might still succeed, but it's a lot less likely than if you had success in other careers previously, right?
Gotcha.
That's a bigger determining factor. And so back to muscle memory, watch this. Put up your hands like you're playing a trumpet. Okay? Play me a G, like a G major scale. Okay? I don't know how long it's been. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but isn't that amazing? Like your fingers, because you practiced for hours, that repetition drilled it in, that you default back to it at you autopilot to that scale, right?
Right.
Isn't that interesting how our brains work?
It's funny because you're saying that part of the problem I'm having is, as I'm doing that is when you play a trumpet, you buzz your lips, and you're using all the muscles in your face, right? It's a really weird facial expression you're making. And so as I'm doing it, I'm like trying to buzz and I'm like, well, I don't want it's going to sound weird and it's going to get awkward, but yeah, it's like it's all part of it, right? I mean, that's the whole point of the muscle memory is it's a package deal. Everything you're doing is all baked into the same, wiring in your brain at that point, right? I mean, you almost can't do one part without the other.
Yep. So if you want to wire this back, kind of go full circle back into a culture of a high performance culture, you can look for these people in your nucleus based on that track record of greatness, fan the flames. You can't create motivation, but you fan the flames. And here's where we can tie in video to this, right? This is where video, I think, because I love video. I think that the fact that you and I are having a face-to-face conversation, but we are thousands of miles away,
right?
It's just cool, right? It's just cool.
Oh, yeah.
So you can watch my gestures, you watch my hands, you can see what we're doing. In a sales team during COVID, some teams are still meeting together in person, but a lot of them have switched to decentralized, right? Like I have a team that's spread all over the country at this point. We can connect on Zoom and we can still have these top producers inspire each other, drive each other, and do things using video that, whether it be live video in real time with people connecting or pre-recorded video or like Marco Polo video, right? There's all sorts of ways to leverage video in it that help drive that culture. Does that make sense?
Cool. Well, so let's dive into talking about this high performance aspect. We got into the topic of video, and I want to talk more about video here, obviously. The one thing I want to ask next is, as you're building these teams, let's kind of come back to the story because I love the story, and obviously there's a part two or the next part, right, which is building the team back from where it had gotten to. Talk to me about. Let's just skip to the next step here, which is talking about video and kind of incorporating it. How are you using video now to build that culture, right? I mean, you talked about being able to do these meetings remotely, and obviously that's a shift that video is enabled, but what are some of the ways that you're seeing video become helpful for building that culture and building that environment of performance, so to speak?
Yeah. So just to kind of bookend that story, then to give you the end of it, I went from 21 agents down to 14. And so I went back to 14 and my 14, and they weren't the same 14 as before, but those 14 agents sold more houses than the 21 agents did.
Of course. Right.
And then I scaled back and I went to 7 agents and they sold as many as the 14. Like I just kept going smaller and smaller, selling the same amount of houses. And that just ties into that culture of high performance. So these days I just recently shut down that sales team. I'm starting a brand new team because as I shrunk it down, I kind of changed around. I had a couple agents graduate that they're still connected to me and my brokerage, but they're now, doing their own thing. So as we scaled back down, I shut down that version of a team. I'm starting up a new one that we'll talk about that in part 17 when I come back in next year. But for now, the way video ties into that is we use video every which way we can. So we had a Marco Polo group for our team. Some of the agents loved it. Some of them never checked it. Doesn't matter. Marco Polo, I'm sure you've talked about it on this podcast before, but in case someone's never heard it, this is the first episode they're listening to. Marco Polo is like the lowest barrier of entry to getting normal human beings used to video. People listening to this podcast probably like video, or at least want to like it. That's why they're listening to it. But you have agents on your team that won't be like you. So we used to do Marco Polo because it's like a walkie-talkie with video. Very low barrier. No one's going to get mad. It gets people comfortable with the idea of talking on camera. Then it also helps because your team agents answer each other questions. It's a great way to get out of having to do it yourself as a team leader. You put 10 agents on a Marco Polo thread. Someone asks a question. You just delay a little bit to respond. Someone's going to answer that thing. It ain't you. Hopefully they answer it right. Then the other thing we would do is we had a private Facebook group, not a public, not just private for our own team. And we would encourage, and not even contests, but just little ways to get agents doing video inside our private group, going live in our Facebook group, private Facebook group. That would, again, just to get them comfortable with the idea of going live.
Right.
You want your team agents out there to the public going live because it's going to drive business depending on what your team splits are. I'm assuming it's good for most team leaders to have their agents right? Bringing in their own leads. It was great for my team because we were 50-50 across the board, whether it was their lead or our lead. So as a team leader, I'm thrilled if it's their lead. It's better margins, right? And they're happy because they like working with people they like, and it's an easier for them to prospect for hours from internet leads. So it's win-win. Yeah, but I would always get agents out there doing video in every which way they could, because that's a great way to stay in front of their sphere.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, so tell me about, obviously you are emphasizing that agents do this stuff, right? Let's get into the why a little bit, right? Because I think that there's an attitude in real estate still that there's a lot of ways to do things. There's a lot of different ways to lead gen. You can still be using the phone. You could be knocking on doors, right? I mean, you don't necessarily have to use video. So are you encouraging all of your agents to do this? And if so, kind of like what's the logic behind it? Or do you still find that agents are kind of like trying different things and video is just one of them? What's your feeling on that side of things?
Yeah, you don't have to use video. But I mean, if you don't want to make money, just skip video. That's fine.
All right.
No, I'm serious. Like I am such a firm believer of video in every way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be produced, recorded content. But so much of communication is nonverbal. Right. If there's anyone, I don't know if you put out a podcast version. I don't know if you put out an audio only version of this thing, like a podcast, because we put out a lot of content. Like Agent Power Huddle is what we run every day. We do a podcast and a video version. And I'm well aware that there are people that we get 1,000 downloads a month. It's not like crazy, but it's a decent amount of listens. I'm well aware that people are just listening to audio only, and they are missing out on part of it because there's things that we do when you watch a speaker, but they still get enough. It's enough for them. Right. But when you're dealing with clients, buyers and sellers, or agents you want to recruit if you're a broker owner, why rely on audio only when you can be so much more impactful using video, right? Like I can't on audio do this, right? I can't like get all up in the camera for dramatic effect. I don't know how creepy that was. You might want to edit that. Just kidding. But
it actually glitched a little, so I didn't quite see it. I saw your face real big for a second, and then it went back. But we'll get it on the recording. So that's I'll see it on the back end. That's what I was doing. No, I always joke, like when I do Zooms, I do a ton of Zoom webinars every week, some for clients, some for agents. And I always say, hey, if I'm going too slow or too fast, what I want you to do is just go ahead and collapse your face onto the camera. That's how I'll know that I'm going the wrong speed. Just go ahead and collapse. Like you can do things on video that it's your personality. Right. People work, if you're taking notes, write this down. People work with people that they know, like, and trust. That's it. Know, like, and trust. Video deals with all three. So why would you not use it? No, I have no reason. I mean, maybe somebody listening does.
Well, I know right? You don't. I'm waiting for the metaphorical person to answer that, I guess. I don't know. But,
no, you're right. I mean, that's I mean, it should hang in the air like that because there isn't a good answer, right? I mean, I think most people, the honest answer is it makes me uncomfortable, right? Like that's what most people are struggling with, and I think it's where I mean, you and I mean, it's fun to always talk to people that are on the same page as I am, but obviously sometimes it's for conversation reasons not good to be completely aligned, but we're talking about this video stuff, and that's the reality is a lot of people they haven't gotten to the point of asking themselves where they can or should be using it yet, because they're still stuck on the fact that it's scary, right? So like you're talking about this Marco Polo and being able to communicate even one-on-one video messages, just keeping your clients up to date. I mean, that's one of my favorite places for people to start because it reduces miscommunication. You're providing better customer service. Your retention is going to be better. All these kind of really awesome benefits, and it's a low pressure environment, right? These aren't videos that are going out to the public, but I think a lot of people are still stuck before they're even thinking about that opportunity, saying, I'm just, I don't like how I look, right? I'm not a video person. So, I mean, do you deal with that, or what do you do with your agents that struggle with that part?
Two schools of thought. You ready? Number one, write this down. Timid agents have skinny kids. I heard that long ago based on prospecting, people who don't like the phone. Not liking video is just like not liking the phone. It's okay if you don't want to do video, right? It's okay if you don't. But you ain't going to make the same amount of money. And I'm assuming you got into real estate to either serve or to make money. And video does both. So that's one school of thought. If that's enough to shift it for people, awesome. What more than likely happens, though, and I learned this from my wife, who's a therapist. She actually has a degree, right? She's a licensed therapist. Exposure therapy. Exposure therapy plus Buddhism, Ready for this? I bet no one has ever talked about Buddhism on your podcast before.
Not yet. No.
I'm not a practicing Buddhist. I'm not a practicing Buddhist, but I do borrow from Buddhism when I'm teaching about this sort of stuff. So we got exposure therapy, which means whatever your fear is, you're going to start with the smallest possible exposure that allows you to still move forward. So let's take it out of the world of video. Let's talk about spiders. A lot of people have a fear of spiders. What's your relationship to spiders?
I like spiders now, but I used to be scared of them. I know where this is going.
Okay. Well, let's do something you're scared of. What's something you're scared of?
Let's see. I'm still kind of scared of the dark, I guess. That would be one I could get better at.
Okay. Perfect. So scared of the dark. So I'm just guessing by the way you're talking about it. Just talking about the dark doesn't make you nervous or break out in the sweats, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. But if I put you in a dark, tiny box, let's add claustrophobia to this. I don't know if you have a fear of that or not. Let's put you in a dark, tiny box with zero actual light. Locked it, padlocked it, walked away. How are you feeling now?
That'd be bad. Yeah, I'd be freaking out.
Okay. So we're not going to that level because that's over the threshold. So somewhere in between talking about it and being locked in a room, my guess is it might be like walking into a room that the rest of your house is lit, but like the light is off. You go in there and just stand there for a minute and just hang out with the light off. I bet you could do that, right? I'm just guessing. Probably you're further down than that. But that would be the beginning of exposure therapy, to get used to that. And then you go a little darker, a little further.
Right.
And at some point, as you build up, you will actually get to the point where if you wanted to, you could get into that locked box in the tiny dark space, which right now seems crazy talk because you've boiled the frog. How do you boil a frog? If you take boiling water and you throw the frog in, it jumps out. You take frog, you put it into a normal pot of water, you slowly turn up the temperature, suddenly the frog's boiling, it doesn't even know it. Make sense? So that's why we use Marco Polo in private. That's why we use Marco Polo in private Facebook groups, because you want to boil your own frog. That's a terrible metaphor, but I was vegan for 16 years. I don't know why I'm talking about boiling frogs, but you get the idea. So I would say that's one way. And then the Buddhism comes with, if you have a fear of video, it's because you're focused on what people think about you. It's an inward focus.
Right.
If you can turn your focus outward, which is what Buddhism is about. I don't pretend to understand Buddhism, but as far as I understand, it's an outward focus. If you focus on who you're talking to, it's a lot harder on video because you're staring at a tiny black circle. But if you can focus on, I am talking to someone on the other side. Like right now, Nick, the way I have you lined up on my screen, I am staring directly at your face over my camera. I'm not talking to my camera. I still have trouble talking to my camera. It's just a weird thing to me after years, but I can do it. But when I talk to you, it makes it a lot easier. So I talk to my I talk to you, or I visualize, if I'm doing like a video, I visualize talking to who I'm talking to and the impact I want to have on them, the meaning and how I want to show up in their world. Because that allows me to stop thinking about, do I look stupid? Does my hair look funny? Is my hair okay? I don't even know. Right? Like all that stuff goes out of the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, that's it aligns very well with what we teach in our school, so I like that. That means we're on the right track. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and I love the Buddhist spin on it. You know what I mean? You can that's a little something. That's good. So I've gone. Okay, can I say one thing? I've gone through a ton of the stuff that you guys do in your school, and it's incredible. That's where some of the stuff I probably learned from you, and I'm just teaching back to you, which is hilarious. But yes, your school is incredible. Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's for the audience. It's not for me. So you can repeat anything I've ever said, and they'll probably take it more to heart because I'm not the one saying it.
There you go.
So cool.
Yeah, you got a question?
Well, we are getting towards the end of our allotted time here, Jesse. But I do have a couple more quick questions for you. I guess my next question would be this. So we're talking about video and how important it is for agents to use, and obviously, the significance of it. Should brokers be trying to recruit agents who are already using video? Would that be a smart approach to building their team, do you think?
Heck yeah. Brokers or team leaders absolutely recruit people that are already embracing video. The bigger question is, how do you recruit them? John Cheplack's the one who taught me the concept of making deposits in the business equity relationship account.
Okay.
What that means is most people try to recruit. It's like going to an ATM and making a withdrawal before you put any money in your account. I don't know, Nick, if you've ever been broke or poor, like phases in your life. I've had some phases, right, where you go to the ATM machine, you put the card in, and you might not have ever been as broke as I was, but you actually click the buttons to withdraw money, and it actually produces the sound of laughter. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't got the laugh, no.
Like the ATM will literally go, you can't do that. You got negative account balance, dude. Anyway, so that is what a lot of recruiters, team leaders, and brokers will do is they'll go up to someone doing video and be like, let me talk to you about my brokerage. Can I tell you why we're awesome? We're going to say like, no, come in and start adding value first. Make some deposits, build a relationship, compliment them on their video. See if you can give them some tips as to how to improve their video. If they're already a rock star, don't come in and try to school them. Maybe you can learn from them. Maybe you can figure out a way to collaborate. Maybe you can interview them. But if you come from service and you have no agenda, you genuinely want to help, and then you look for ways to connect and to then bring them over later, that's what I found has been the most attractive way to recruit, especially people using video.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, and obviously I've seen you do this, right? I mean, you're doing live videos every single day, webinars, you know, bringing all kinds of outside guests in to share what they have to say, and you know, it's awesome. And I just love the collaborative nature of what you've put together. So
we've recruited 680 people in 2.5 years. It's pretty good, right?
Well, congrats on that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying like it's all and that's not all me. There's an incredible team, but like it's duplicatable. Everything I'm talking about is just duplicatable, and it starts from coming from service and just being a helpful person. I know we're coming to the end of our time, but I'll give you one other thing on recruitment because I know you have a lot of broker owners and team leaders listening. And I learned, again, mentors, I learned this from all various people. If you can create an experience of what it's going to be like for someone to be at your company before they actually get there, it brings the barrier down. Right? It's just like with you guys, right? With Business Video School, you give out lessons, you give out free samples, you show like, here's what you get on our newsletter, we'll give you all these free tips. You want to show them what it's going to be like before they even hire you to teach them video. It's exactly the same concept, right? And you guys live it, and it works really well.
Yeah, I love that. It makes total sense. So my last question as we wrap up here is, obviously if somebody's watching or listening and they feel like, hey, you know, Jesse's got it figured out, I want to see what he's doing. Or get involved, right? Or just, you know, I want to be part of that team. What's the best way for somebody to learn more about what you have to offer?
Yeah, so if they go to Agent Power Huddle on Facebook, we have a private group called the Agent Power Huddle group on Facebook. Join that group. It's open to any agent in any company. You can see that's one of our like flagship shows that we put out every day. Helpful training content for agents. We have a new website launching that should be launched next month, theagentcollective.com. It's not live yet. You can't see anything there, but depending on when this podcast comes out or if it lives for years and years, they can check out theagentcollective.com or just send me a DM. But like if you're going to DM me on any social platform, tell me that you saw this podcast. Say, hey, I saw your interview with Nick, right? So I can connect the dots and figure out how to help you. I don't care what company you're at, who you're with, whatever you are. I am happy to help you. I love helping agents. I love geeking out on recruitment and growth strategies and anything. Happy to chat.
Awesome. Love it. Well, this has been awesome, Jesse. I really appreciate all of your insights, especially the vulnerability. That goes a long way. Definitely appreciate that. And thank you just so much for being here and being a part of our show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. And thank you for putting out such consistently great content on how to use video. Like really, our industry needs a lot more of this.
Good. Well, we're going to continue doing it. So I'm glad you're liking it so far. We just want to thank you all for joining us. Obviously, every single time we drop one of these episodes, I have a blast. It's a great conversation. We're learning a ton of great things here on Broker Breakdown. So thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you can join us again on the next episode. We'll see you then.